Welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Today we're going to be doing a little more item collection, which means we're here in Hyrule Castle Town as Adult Link going into a room we haven't been in before. Because this took somewhere in the neighborhood of several hours, this is all post-commentary and I'm running here and there and everywhere. Same thing as what happened in the previous item collection. I actually wanted Ogre to be here for this one, but he's got a bit of a stomach bug, so everybody wish him the best. So talking to this person is the introduction of the quest, though I suppose you could technically start it at any point, or I shouldn't say start it, but make progress in it at any point. He tells you about the large pose out and about in Hyrule Field, so we need to go catch them. The first is actually right near the fork in the road, right outside Hyrule Castle Town. You have to be on horseback to get them to appear, and they take 2 arrows to kill. You can get a Poe to spawn if you're not on horseback, but it'll be a small Poe. So run up to it, catch it in a bottle, and we can go find the second Poe, which is actually right near Lon Lon Ranch, run between the tree and the actual ranch. They will appear in front of you, always. So you can guarantee your aim in that direction, and they'll be moving away from you at about horse speed. You can get them to show up otherwise, but it's going to be a little more tricky to hit them. You can see that one showed up at an angle because I kind of veered off to one side. You can also see in the minimap in the lower left-hand corner where each one is spawning. This one was kind of tricky to get to show up, but it shows up next to one of the bushes down here near the river, just to the west of Hyrule Castle Town. Still moving, what is that, counterclockwise around the map. The next one shows up just outside the entrance to Gerudo Valley, though not quite as close as the next one, which is right here, and probably one of the harder ones to deal with, simply because you have so little room before it hits a wall. And I think if it hits a wall, it just disappears. A little more out in the open now to the southeast of Lon Lon Ranch. We show up next to the bushel of bushes in the bunch of trees to the southeast of the map. And the next is actually very close to that one, still in this bushel of trees, though it'll be near the large rock. Just a little east from that, you'll find a large gray boulder near the fence. This is actually a pretty obvious landmark, that boulder, if you're running around on the eastern side of the map. So it shouldn't be too hard to miss. And that should leave us with just 2. Now the first is actually to the, again, east of Lon Lon Ranch. There's a big stone wall. The easiest way to get this thing to show up is to just park yourself in the nook of that wall. After a time, the ghost will spawn, disappear, respawn, disappear, and so on. However, because it's moving away from you so fast, and it despawns very quickly if it gets a distance away from you, you will need to be quick on the draw, since you're not moving. Same thing with this one, which you can get to show up by simply standing in this nook. Machine gun some arrows at them, though, since they will always appear in front of you, and they should go down easily enough. And that should be the 10th and final of the large pose, big pose. which means we can head back to our good friend. Every one of these that you had to turn in, he gives you 100 points on your card, and at 1,000 points, which is then 10 big pose. Small pose do not give you any points, so you have to get the 10 big pose. And as a reward, you will get the 4th and final bottle. You can technically do this quest at any time after you get Epona. And the bow and arrow, I suppose. And next up for the dreaded quest, a return to the fishing pond. Much like as a child, you simply have to catch the largest fish in the pond. For this, I don't know what though, I do not like the fishing in this game. Trying to catch the big fish, specifically, like if you just want to catch any fish, it's not that bad. You have to catch at least a 15-pound fish. However, the largest fish in the pond, which will always spawn at a very specific point right in the middle of the pond, is going to be a bit larger than that. So all you have to do is catch this one fish. However, getting it to bite is ridiculously difficult, and largely based on luck. It took me somewhere in the neighborhood of an hour to actually catch this fish. Like, getting it to bite was difficult enough on its own. I only got it to bite like 3 times within that hour. And then once you're pulling it in, the line will break if you're not fighting it correctly. I'm actually holding, like, almost every button. I'm holding R, I'm holding A, I'm holding B, all on the controller. And I'm waggling the control stick left and right as fast as possible to wear him out. If I see that he's moving very strictly to one side, I'll hold the same direction he's moving. And then the instant he jumps out of the water, you let off everything, or he'll yank the control back. So, again though, this still took me somewhere in the neighborhood of an hour and a half. And if you lose him, he'll run to one of the lowest parts of the lake, or the little pond, where you can't get his attention again. You just can't do it. You're best off just leaving and re-entering. It'll cost you another 20 rupees to start again, but it'll reset his position. A couple other interesting things that you can do while you're in here are, you can cast your line at the actual fishing captain and snag the hat off his head, and you'll find somewhere in the last 7 years he's started to go bald. There is a special lure hidden in here somewhere called the sinking lure, and this is your key to catching some of the larger fish. Catching or getting the sinking lure, however, it will not show up until you've caught the large fish, the lurker here, at least once, or the lunker, at least once. So now that I've caught it once, the sinking lure shows up, and it makes catching the larger fish much, much easier. The sinking lure is just out and about. There's 4 odd places it can randomly spawn. You can't see it, you just have to run around and you'll get a message that says, hey, you found a thing. The positions are at the mouth of the little stream going in, where the little stream actually reaches the water. The little log that's sticking out of the water, and closer to the wall. But that's it. That's the whole mess. And for it, you get the golden scale, which lets you dive 3 odd meters deeper than before. Now, while we're still collecting items, In Kakariko Village, this building in the last 7 years has actually been completed, and you can go in to take part in a shooting game. This game is very similar to the one we did as a child, where you shot rupees with your slingshot. In fact, I think this is the same guy. Only you have to shoot rupees. You cannot miss or you have to shoot them with your bow and arrow. You cannot miss a single one. However, if you get 9 of 10, you get a free other attempt. This took me 3 or 4 tries. I was always one away every time, though. And I found it was always the red ones that threw me off. And for that you get an improved quiver, letting you hold an additional 10 arrows, 40 now in total. But we're not done with archery yet. You may recall at the Gerudo's Fortress, I mentioned the rather large shooting gallery behind the actual fortress. This is not a regular shooting gallery, much like the one we just went in. This is a horseback shooting gallery. So you've got to go back there with Epona. See, I don't believe we've actually spoken to this lady before. She doesn't say anything too terribly interesting. Hi! So once you come back here, if you talk to her anyway, she'll maybe tell you a little bit about the actual gallery, but you need to talk to her on horseback in order to start the actual challenge. So how the challenge works is you'll be running on horseback, shooting at the various large targets set up. The closer to the center of each target you get, the more points you get. A dead bullseye will get you 100 points, whereas hitting the edge will net you 30, and somewhere in the middle you get 60. So you want as many bullseyes as you can get, obviously. Epona will run on her own, so you don't have to worry about that, just worry about shooting. You can, simply by hitting the target with all 20 arrows, you can get reasonably close. The first time you do this, she'll say she wants you to hit 1,000 points, which isn't terribly difficult. As long as you can hit with all 20 arrows, you shouldn't have much trouble hitting 1,000 points. There's the 3 main targets in the middle, and then 2 targets around the end. The game ends automatically when you run out of arrows. And for 1,000, you get a piece of heart. But we're not doing the piece of heart run yet. We're doing an item run right now. Which means we now have to beat her personal best of 1,500. This one is a fair bit harder. As a child, I remember having so much trouble with this one that I actually taped a small red dot to the middle of my TV screen, so I knew exactly where the arrow was going to hit. It wasn't actually as hard as that this run. This took me in the neighborhood of 4 attempts or so. But you gotta aim good and get those 1,500 points. And just barely squeaking that out. Giving us the biggest quiver, and increasing our total arrows to 50. We're not quite done with Epona just yet, though. if you head back to Lon Lon Ranch after you've gotten Epona, of course, so I guess why did I bother? You have to have Epona in order to do this. If you head back to Lon Lon Ranch with Epona and talk to Malon, she'll have you run an obstacle course. It's 2 laps, and you have to beat 50 seconds. As long as you can make it around the obstacle course without messing up, you should at least be able to get darn close. However, if you don't have a carrot ready for each and every one of these large jumps, anything over the 1 height, whereas that one says 2, anything over 1 height, you have to have a carrot ready or you will not make the jump. And then, of course, you also want a carrot on the long stretches. So you do have to time your carrots just right, so you didn't use a carrot at an awkward time, so you can't use it one just before a jump, and you also can't just use all your carrots or you're not going to have any left. As long as you don't mess up horribly and like completely miss a jump, you should be able to beat, or you should be able to at least get near 50 seconds. It takes a nearly flawless run to beat 50 seconds, though. And you know, rumor has it that Malon herself is the one who set that 50-second limit. And we're rewarded with a prize sent to our house. Where's our house? Oh right, it's still in the woods. And that's not restricted to just that one time. You can actually do that at any time. But your prize is a cow. You've just got a cow in here now. Which, the cow gives you something very nice, in that if you play Epona's song for the cow, or any cow you find out in the wild, you get some free Lon Lon milk. You don't find cows very often out in the wild, but they'll usually be in grottos or some such, but any of them you find you play Epona's song for, you get a free jug of milk, and now we have our very own. That's it for most of the larger items that you can find in the game. Until next time, everyone, when we move on to heart pieces.